What's happening, weirdos? This is Simon Rich, and I am obsessed with Simon Rich. He is a writer. He created the show Man Seeking Woman. He's also been a writer on SNL. He also wrote two of my absolute favorite hilarious books that you absolutely, for real, have to check out. The newest one is called Glory Days. The audiobook is read by John Mulaney. I tore through this book. It's hilarious. Not just like funny, it's hilarious. It's creative. It's inspiring. And if you're like me and listen to podcasts and listen to books, you need to get Glory Days now. Mulaney's performance is incredible, and Simon's writing is off the charts. So good. I'm also listening to New Teeth, which is another book that he wrote, and the audiobook is also an incredible performance. I'm all in on Simon Rich, and I'm so glad that he came on the pod to chat, and I'm so glad that you guys are here to check it out. Not too much else to plug up top, just some tour dates. I'm going to be, I'm going to my own website right now. I'm going to be in Milwaukee, then Minneapolis, then Denver, then Raleigh, North Carolina, then Indianapolis, and then Portland. So there's lots of cities coming up, all of which are available on PeteHolmes.com. And in the meantime, listen to Glory Days, listen to New Teeth, check out everything Simon's done, watch Man Seeking Woman. He's incredible. I'm so glad you guys are here. Get into it. Do it.
Oh, is this,
it's in an Ellen mind. Ellen mug.
So did you,
My friend Paige lives here, and I don't know why she has the same mug that I have. Because I have that mug from the time I was on the Ellen show.
What was that experience?
Why does she have the Ellen mug? Did she go to the, we should call her.
We should find out, yeah.
When I saw it, is this narcissism? I was like, that must be my mug.
Sure.
I just went right to the same mug. It's probably my mug.
Probably, yeah. Makes
Right?
sense, absolutely.
We used to live here.
Yeah.
There's the mug I have from it's a TV show mug.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think that's self-centered.
Wow, it's Be Kind.
Be kind.
Oh,
I
it's
know.
great, yeah.
You know, look, I'm not up on the Ellen
Sure.
goss,
Yeah.
but I know she had some issues being kind. But isn't it funny? I mean, this is not new ground. I'm really impressed. I'm really taken with you. I think you're incredibly talented. So I want to lob you topics that are worthy, because I really don't want to blow this opportunity. You don't do a lot of podcasts.
That's true.
I think you're so interesting and so funny.
Thank you.
So I want to load you. I feel not burdened, but I feel obligated to give you good stuff. But unfortunately, the first one I'm going to give you is, have you noticed the protest too much phenomenon? If someone's obsessed with telling people to be kind, they're usually having rage issues. If a pastor is telling you that gay people are the worst, they're probably seeing gay prostitutes. What is it? It's so darling about humans that we're so obvious.
Yeah.
That if they protest too much,
Sure.
which, by the way, Willie Shakes
Yeah.
made that up.
It's true.
We didn't have that.
That's it.
People were like, that person's saying a whole lot.
Absolutely.
Is what we had before. If we were really slick, would know what play that was from. Macbeth?
Protest too much. The lady doth protest too much.
Yeah.
I mean, she was definitely a trickster, Lady Macbeth. Could be her, but I should know this.
It was we should know this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you feel a Harvard pressure?
Do I feel Harvard pressure?
Talk about Harvard pressure. I mean, that's a good place to start.
Harvard pressure.
There's a Harvard pressure.
Well, I guess a
Went to Harvard.
A little bit. I mean,
Not John Hawthorne. Nathaniel Hawthorne went to Harvard.
Well, here's the thing about it. But
a
a lot of really stupid people went to Harvard too. Did you know that? Did you know that 100% basically of the judges for the Salem witch trial were Harvard professors?
Well, that's how I know that. Is I played in Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I was a reenactor.
Oh, great.
And I played a character named John Cook, and we used to think it was so funny because it was based on his true testimony.
Right.
And the first thing John Cook said was, John Cook, Harvard College.
Yeah.
So he was stating his credentials. So
right.
we leaned, it's not a comedy, but we leaned into the comedy.
It's hilarious.
And sometimes John Cook, because the audience could cross-examine us.
Yeah.
And when I was John Cook, I'm wearing my overcoat and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say Harvard College after every answer. I would go nay, I did see her. It was her, not her specter. John Cook, Harvard College. And I'd sit down.
Yeah.
These jokes only for us.
Yeah.
So you're right. So there's some knuckleheads.
Some of the dumbest people on earth go there.
But I mean, there's got to be a baked in, or there should be a baked in humility that like we're always just the best of what we are. You know what I mean? Like at that time,
Oh, yeah.
that was the best of what they are.
Absolutely.
This is why I think it's really darling. I mentioned simulation theory earlier.
Yeah.
That computer scientists think God or think reality is a computer scientist.
Right.
And there's something, sorry to keep saying darling, but there is something very darling about that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, sweetheart.
Right.
Look, we're miracle making mothers. It's crazy what we can do. But we're doing exactly what the Salem witch trial judges were doing, which was assuming that the top of their culture at that time was kind of where it was at.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, the confidence of also the confidence of just doctors back then.
Oh yeah,
just like they just walk into a village and they have their jar and they're like pee in the jar.
Pee in the jar.
And they look at the color.
Was
and
that most of it? Like
for
opacity?
For like about 1,000 years.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, Midnight in Paris, Woody Allen scandal noted.
Yeah.
I love when he,
Yeah.
remember Owen Wilson goes like, I just realized there's no Valium here. Like that's when like he wants to like go back to his time.
Yes.
Is because there's no antibiotics and there's no Valium.
Yes.
That really, medical science really does put a damper on time travel.
There's this great medical treatise. It's one of the only like documents that they have found that's like here's like an academic treatise for doctors to read to become better doctors, and you expect that it's going to be like, here's what a cold is, and like here's how you know when someone's
Yeah.
allergic, and it's just here's how you convince them that you're a doctor. It's like definitely
persuasion.
definitely wear a robe, like you know, like don't laugh, like when you're looking
Yes.
at the pee, like don't be like
Don't giggle.
just be like I'm a doctor. Say you're a doctor a lot. Like use
But
the word
how
doctor.
much of that is still
That's like the only medical
That was-
advice that they had for one another was
to be a doctor, appear like
appear
a doctor.
as a doctor. Yeah,
Appear as a doctor.
that was it.
I had an idea for a reality show called Faking It. I have no interest in actually doing this.
Yeah.
But, you know, we would would put you in a lab coat.
Sure.
And would let you do a physical. Not
Right.
not touching and stuff, but like, you know, explain to somebody who's having like a pretty basic thing.
Yeah.
And they would see 5, and then their job is to pick who was the fake.
It's great.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
I mean, I think it's an excellent.
You do?
I really love it. I mean,
You do?
Yeah, I think the higher stakes, the better, right?
Well, masseuse could be. I think I could give a very
I would
convincing.
do pilot,
Wait,
neurosurgeon,
Are we in the?
homicide detective, fireman.
Okay, I'm not joking. Resourced, well slept, caffeinated. Let's say I just got a piece of good news.
Sure.
So I'm like firing at 10 out of 10.
Yes.
I think I could do all of those.
You think so?
Except
like
maybe
full
neurosurgeon.
Catch Me If You Can, you could just walk in and bluff your way through.
That's what's so fun about Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why we love actors,
Yeah.
first of all, we know they're faking.
Right.
But look, George Clooney is a dentist.
Sure.
Like he's doing it. And we love that. So much of life is this performance model, and we love people that like break that and show it back to us.
Yeah.
But I think you mentioned firefighter. I think I could do firefighter.
What would your move be?
Be very still.
Sure.
Seem like I'm very like not thrown by anything.
Because the flames are very fast moving.
Flames are fast, so you can't.
You can't, yeah. You have to
Don't try to match the flames.
don't compete with the flames.
Don't compete with the flames.
Yeah.
The flames are going to be the
They're
razzle
gonna be-
dazzle.
That's it. They're the straight man.
You're the background.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just keep saying who's
Yeah.
on first. That's your job.
That's
Say
it.
that to the flames. Let them be
That's it.
confused.
Right.
Let them sizzle. Mm-hmm. But you know, now I'm realizing I'm checking myself after I've wrecked myself. I couldn't do it. Like
couldn't
I
do it.
wouldn't know. Imagine looking at a burning house and knowing that's too burny.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
We can't go in. It's too burny.
Yeah.
Like, what do you?
Yeah.
How can you be sure?
How do you measure that?
Yeah. What if we look from the back? Well, they probably look from the back. They probably look from
Maybe
all
that's what
over.
they do. They probably look from all. They probably go around and look from all sides. Maybe.
I catch you being very funny in that moment. They probably do.
They probably do.
They probably
right?
go around the back.
That's probably
and
there.
the sides.
Yeah.
And then they go, it's too much.
That's also like a relatively recent job because for a long time, it was all volunteer everywhere. And if you
Sure.
if you go to like there's a museum, the Museum of the City of New York, near Central Park on like 100th Street in New York. They have some like early volunteer fire trucks.
No.
Yeah, it's just like some dudes were like, maybe we should do something about this. They just like created.
Fire is getting our number.
Yeah, we should
Let's do
just
it.
like you and me will just like make a thing that would put like a bunch of water in it and.
Maybe I'm really lit up today, but everything seems like a good idea. That seems like a good idea for a movie or a show.
Yeah.
You know what that is? No joke.
Yeah.
Full reality. Being dead serious. That's Ghostbusters.
That's true.
That's what Ghostbusters is.
Yeah,
In
absolutely.
fact, I would bet
Yeah.
$100 that
Yeah.
who wrote not Harold Ramis.
Ramis, I think.
Ramis wrote
I think,
it. Okay.
yeah.
So Harold Ramis maybe was like, I went to that museum.
Probably.
And was like, I want to do a movie
Kinda
about
looks-
how
Yeah.
the fire was a problem, but
Yeah.
there was nothing to do. So these volunteers got together and they busted the fire.
Yeah.
Firebusters.
Fires were so common. But a great thing about the fire is after there's some, I think, 17th century London fire that just decimated everything.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, this is actually maybe good because like the city is so confusing and filthy and impossible to navigate and just like there's so much plague all the time because of just horrible. So we'll just
Shake
like
it.
make it look like Paris, and everyone's like, I want my exact terrible thing back.
And did they?
They got it. They rebuilt it exactly as it was. Like in all of its illogical, like pestilential, madness. There's like someone's like, I want, like remember that sewer, that like open sewer that
We
like
want that.
I want it exactly.
You know what it
that
is?
way again.
You know what that is? Eternal Sunshine.
Right. That's it.
We could redo it. Let's just do it exactly as it was.
Do you think they
I think Charlie
they
Kaufman
went to that museum
and was like, they rebuilt. So which city was that? Because that's a great factoid.
London.
London
Is a replica
of the London that burned down.
Right. It's an exact replica of pre-fire.
You, sir,
London.
have already paid out. You could throw out your Keep It Crispy. We got to read Glory Days. It's incredible, by the way, your newest book.
Thank you.
We got to watch Man Seeking Woman. Thank you, Simon Rich.
Thank you.
Fastest episode ever. Because what you really want from a podcast, I remember the line in Rounders, they're like, your goal is to win one big hand an hour. Remember, that's how professionals do it.
Got it,
In a podcast, you really just want like one or two things that's going to enrich your life.
Yeah.
And you already did it.
I hope nobody
I'll
fact checks those things that I said.
You can, but we're sort of past that.
Cool.
Just if it feels good, do it.
That's what I'm kind of.
We're in like an intellectual 60s.
Great. Okay, cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just be you,
Yeah.
be me,
Yeah.
your facts, my facts.
Yeah, right. We don't have to be authorities.
No.
Yeah.
London burned down and they built it exactly the same.
I think that is true, though. Yeah.
I mean, the burden of Harvard is on you. May the power of Harvard compels you. That has to be real because that fills what I was saying. Is it fills a gap in my my analogy vocabulary? Like it's a gift.
Yes.
To be like, well,
Yeah.
Because Chicago, on the other hand,
Right.
burned down.
Yep.
And they redid it.
Yeah. Was it the same? Did they do it?
I don't believe it was the same.
Yeah.
I'm not positive about this, but here I'll tell you why I believe it wasn't the same.
Yeah.
Is because it's flawless. You go to New York, I
Right.
know.
Yeah.
We've both spent some time in New York. There's garbage everywhere.
Right.
It's because nobody, there was no city planner. They
Yeah.
built it like bad Tetris.
Yes.
Like it just, and before the screen was full, and they're like, "That's Manhattan."
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like it was just kind of whoops.
It's a mess. My
It was a whoopsie-doodle.
Yeah.
Chicago is columns,
Right.
played by a pro.
Yes.
Just kidding.
No, it's a beautiful city. I always love going
Well, it's
there.
because of the alleys. They built in
Yeah.
alleys and
Right,
they
right.
put places to put the trash. It's a do-over city.
Yeah. That makes
New
sense.
York is a first draft,
We're still stuck with it.
but there's a charm.
My best friend since early childhood works for the MTA.
No way.
Yeah, and so he's like a high level bureaucrat in the MTA, and so their their success is based on they give surveys to customers. What do you think about the MTA? And their success for the year is tied to, do people like it more than they did last year?
Are we improving?
And are we improving?
Whoa.
And so I think the record for like positive feedback was like I think 6%. Out of 100, and so
Wow.
they did everything they could, and they were like, "This is the year we're gonna crack like 8 or even 9%. We're gonna go for it."
They're going for double digits.
Yeah, I mean that's the dream. That's the dream.
Wow.
You don't say that out loud.
10%.
Like
Don't even say it.
Aaron Judge doesn't say he's going for 60. But he is. So that's
Secretly, they want that 10%.
They want that 10%.
That would be a lot of people that are.
That would be
pleased with
incredible.
the MTA,
That would be 800,000 people who are like, "This
Yeah.
is good."
Yeah.
And so they improved, and they have all the subgrades too. Like do you approve of? The cleanliness, the
Yeah.
general smell,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they have all those.
Yeah.
So it went up across the board in every single category, but it still went from like 6% down to like 5% because the one category where they did not improve was murders.
Subway murders.
Yeah, there were way more murders.
Are there still Subway?
A lot.
There are a lot of Subway murders?
And so that number just ended up spiking
What is
the
this,
entire
Final Fight? There's still people being...
There are too many. There are too many for people's liking.
And people... I lived in New York for 7 years.
Yeah.
Granted, I was in my 20s, and you're not really, like, searching the murder page. I guess maybe I should have.
Page 1, yeah.
Page... Well, that's a good question. Someone's murdered on the subway. Does that make the front page? It's not on the front page
Yes,
of the Post.
it depends, I guess, on
Some very dark factors we shouldn't talk about.
yeah.
No real person involved. Remember that from Succession?
oof.
Oof.
Yeah.
Is right.
Yeah, there's a lot of, or also just like, you know, was there some kind of fun hoax involving?
Yeah.
You know, they do a lot of fun covers. I'm talking about the Post specifically.
And is there a fun pun?
Yeah.
Like if you're dying and you can somehow work a pun into it.
Yes.
Like if you're a clown and it's like the day the clown died. Is that a thing? The day the clown died?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the day the clown died.
That would be great.
So if you saw like a clown nose under the subway, you could put it on and be
Yes.
like, New York Post,
That's it.
here I come.
Do you think anyone does crimes with a pun in mind?
The pun killer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to say without any humor,
Yeah.
because that's what I'm going for. I think the people that love puns and the people that love murder,
Yeah.
I think there's some overlap.
That makes sense.
Because pun people are very frustrated
Yes.
that people don't share their love of puns. It's
Right.
a worldview.
Yeah.
They're going around like, I don't understand why we're not all going nuts.
It's true. When you don't laugh at somebody's pun,
They hate it.
they hate it.
It's like dad jokes, but like militarized. There's like an intensity.
Yes.
And then they're outcasts.
Yep.
And then they're alone.
Yeah.
And loner outcasts tend to do some subway murders.
Yeah.
And whether or not they want to was like the Zodiac Killer was kind of like a crosswordy kind
Sure.
of.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Pun adjacent.
Yeah. Crosswords are like for the pun loving.
Absolutely.
And Wordle.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Just say it. You
Yeah.
love puns. You think, if you like Wordle, deep down in your core, you think the fact that there are alphanumeric representations of things,
Yes.
you find that fundamentally like funny and disturbing. Like
Yes.
you think the whole thing, like Kevin Spacey in
Right.
Seven.
Sure.
Like you think the whole thing is this big joke no one's laughing at. And you express that by guessing a 5-letter word every day.
It makes absolute sense. It's airtight.
You, I feel like Jiminy Glick. You love words, but you do love words. And there's something really interesting about when you read good writing. So I was reading Glory Days. I was listening to it.
Oh, even better.
Mulaney.
Even
Were
better.
you there when he read it?
No, I wasn't there.
Wow,
Yeah,
'cause it really-
because he did it in New York, and so, but it was thrilling to hear
You trusted
it.
him with it? I'm just kidding.
It
He's
was-
so good at it.
He's so good doing it, and it's like one of those things where, you know, when you write something and an actor reads it, you don't always know, if, you know, are they
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
go for? Are they going to get every single laugh and nuance? But this one,
He
it's
made
every
some
single
that I
thing.
think there's, and then he goes, he's doing the Mario chapter, and he goes, and there's an unsatisfying scroll. He's
Yeah.
talking about his relationship with the
Yeah.
princess, and then
Yeah.
he goes, followed by a Japanese names.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the way he said Japanese
Yeah.
names,
It kills me.
it destroyed
He's
me.
so good
That
at-
is
yeah.
a funny joke, and
Yeah.
somehow the way he said it,
Yes.
wrong, like intentionally wrong. Very
Yeah.
Trey Mulaney.
Well, it's better. It's better than my own inner monologue. You know, because the
Right.
stories when I write these stories, I'm rereading them and I hear them in my head a certain way.
course.
And usually when they're performed, it's not exactly the way it is in my mind.
Yeah.
But this is like maybe the only instance where it's actually funnier and better than the voice inside my brain.
Yeah, Mulaney's sort of he's like a broken robot that broke in the way that brought Wall-E back to life. Pixar. Sorry, you worked for Pixar.
I did,
right?
yeah.
We'll get to that. Sorry, I have to point at
No,
you
all
and
good.
say
All
Pixar,
good.
which is ridiculous.
I love it. I do it to my reflection in the mirror all the time.
Pixar.
That's it. Yeah.
We'll get to that. I'm very interested in that. But like he's so good. It's almost like it must be broken. You know what I mean? Like
It's so perfect.
It's so perfect.
Yeah.
It had to have come from some sort of fluke.
Every choice is right. Every move. And it's incredible. No, he did the whole book and he recorded the whole book in I think 2 days.
Wow.
I sent him like the briefest. He asked me, "Do you have any notes?" And I sent him like the briefest email.
Yeah.
Of like, which is basically just kind of like, truly, I trust you completely.
Yeah.
And it was even better than my already super high expectations.
So that's the first pass? Like you didn't go back and do any pickups or
Nothing. Really? Yeah.
Because we're talking, I think we set this up. Mulaney did the audiobook of your book, Glory Days. And it's so fun. And I was excited for you, even though I know you know him, but you still don't know. And he did it. And here it is.
Yeah.
And it's elevating it, even though it's so fantastic. It's really, really... Well, that's actually where I was going. We don't have to talk about Mulaney. He's got enough. I'm just kidding. But like, there's something really... Would you talk to me a little bit about, I know this is vague, but about like good writing? And because when I was listening to it, I get so excited. There's something, it's surprising and inevitable. It's like, it's not forced. And like, you come to it's almost like visually, you come to a point and then you unpack it in this really relatable way. I know I'm saying something very basic, but you can just tell a story and that's fine. But then like when it takes every opportunity to put something human in it that makes you feel sort of like touched and seen and less alone in the world. Yeah. Would you tell me about your experience with good writing and why it excites you?
I really appreciate that for starters. So thank you.
No, I really love it.
Thank you.
No opportunity wasted. That's how when I watch stand-up, I'm like, oh, they didn't blow any opportunity. They finished the joke.
Yeah.
A lot of times I watch a comic and I'm like, you had this great setup and that's all you did. Even some of my own jokes I'll watch and I'm like, why did I end it there? Yours is very like... you can be thorough to a point where the joke becomes how thorough you are, and then that's just exhausting.
Sure.
Not to put down Wes Anderson, but some of lesser Anderson movies, to me, I'm like, it feels like someone's reading everything in their medicine cabinet, and you're just sort of, like, I love Wes Anderson. I'm just saying, like, when it's not working for me, he's a maximalist.
Yes.
That's not the feeling I'm getting from you.
Yeah.
I'm getting the feeling of like a chef that's really like, and they'll like this.
Right.
There's going to be mango in it.
Yeah.
And like, it's surprising, but also, like I said, inevitable. You're like, of course there had to be mango in it. So
yeah, well, thank you.
Tell me, do you get excited about good writing?
And particularly like, it's funny you talk about like someone like Anderson and like maximalism, and I always was into basically minimalism.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my favorite writers are these short story writers who write with economy in mind. So somebody like Stephen King, who is like best known for his gigantic doorstop novels, which are really fun. I prefer his short stories.
Yeah.
And some of his stories, to me, some of my favorite ones are like only a few pages long, or only like 10 or 15 pages long. Or somebody like, somebody like Bradbury, or T.C. Boyle, or Shirley Jackson. Like The Lottery is like one of the most perfect pieces of writing ever, I think. And
I haven't read it.
The Lottery by Shirley Jackson.
So, no.
Oh, it's great. So it's like 5 pages long, and just to give it away, which I think is okay, but it's basically
literary spoilers. I think people look.
It's
the other
all right,
way.
but it's this kind of folksy town, and they're doing like their annual tradition, which is the lottery.
Yeah,
and it's this sort of just a kind of casual description of the scene. Everyone is coming with their families, and first they pick like which family is going to win the lottery. Everyone is kind of it's kind of like a carnival atmosphere. You don't really know what they're going to win, and you don't really know where in America it is, but it feels contemporary and naturalistic. And then once there's a specific family wins, each person in the family then has to draw lots, and ultimately what ends up happening is that the winner of the lottery is brutally stoned to death.
Oh, wow.
By the rest of the town.
What is the attitude of the winning people? Are they happy?
Absolute terror.
Oh, they are terrified the whole time.
Everyone else is pretty cool with it, but And so this is a short story that appeared
Wait,
in...
but so doesn't that tip it? Like the
you
family
s-
wins
it
and they're kind
sneaks-
of like,
It sneaks up on you.
okay, so that's the artistry of it.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of suspense, and initially you think that the tension and suspense is because they really want to win.
Right.
And you know it's high stakes.
Right. Because a person wanting to win something and a person not wanting to win something
Can be physically described in a similar way. They're
That's
tense,
fun.
they're nervous, they're
Yes.
they want to peek and see,
That's really interesting. Somebody waiting to see if they won American Idol looks like someone who's waiting for their own execution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
Wow.
and that's like a story. And there's also another story that just blew me away. When I was around, like in high school, is when I started discovering like the short story form that I became obsessed with. And the other one is Born of Man and Woman, which is been satirized a lot of times. It's a story by Richard Matheson, and it's basically just told from the point of view of a monster in an attic. And its human parents have given birth to it. It lives in the attic. They come up to feed it, every now and then. It's the origin of that trope.
Yeah.
And it's written in, this completely unhinged, like pidgin English because...
Like Flowers for Algernon.
Yes,
Like the
exactly.
language changes, okay.
Right. And because he's never been exposed to society or school, or it has never been exposed to society or school.
Wow.
And it's just this monster's view of the world, of its family and its place on Earth. And
Wow.
it's just so funny and suspenseful, but also like emotionally cathartic. And it's only like 3 pages long.
Wow.
And so I grew up reading like a ton of, and if this is all boring, we could go back to Ellen DeGeneres too, by the way.
No, I know.
I don't want to
Protest
get
too much,
yeah.
right?
But there was like a thing that was in vogue, like in fiction when I was young, was a kind of literary maximalism.
Yeah.
So you would, and by the way, some of these writers I think are great, but it's just a different thing. So like somebody like Franzen, who was sort of the king when I was, everyone was trying to write like Franzen.
Yeah.
You would get a description of literally every object in somebody's desk.
Right. Right.
Or David Foster Wallace, of course, where
Right.
you get not just a 1,000-page book, but there's footnotes as well. And
Right.
so that was very much like what was hip.
Right.
And I have a lot of respect for these writers, but
also-
but I wanted to do the Richard Matheson 3-page thing. That was always my dream.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's a certain cozy thrill to try and like, what if we could do that? I haven't written. I've written one book, but I was very obsessed with like how to start it and like, can you? Is it possible to hook someone?
Yes.
There's so many things that have like perfect first pages, and you're just like, what the fuck is this?
Where you
but
can,
then there are people that like never abandon that pursuit. And yeah, I've tried to read Infinite Jest. And what also came to mind was Bret Easton Ellis and American Psycho. Very similar. Literally telling you what's in his medicine cabinet.
Yes.
Which is, for a reason.
Well, yeah, American Psycho goes there, but in the beginning he was very laconic and Spartan, and like that's why I like Less Than Zero for me. I actually love it. That's my favorite of his. Actually,
no, I enjoyed it as well. It's been a long time since I read it, although those books always made me feel so lonely.
Oh, they're so dark.
It's called Less Than Zero.
Yeah,
what was I
it's
expecting?
Crazy. Yeah, no, it's unbelievably
You should
dark.
read Unleash the Giant Within if you're looking for like a pick me up.
Yeah,
whatever.
And then also like writers who stick to extreme limitations.
Yeah,
I think is really fun. Like
I agree.
It's awesome. Like I love that. Like maybe my favorite novel is Remains of the Day, and that's written entirely from the perspective of this unbelievably emotionally repressed butler who is just like constitutionally unable to speak about emotion. And it's just like he's telling you the most heartbreaking story of all time to the best of his ability.
Wow.
And failing with every sentence to...
The repressed narrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
A love story told from the point of view of a character who is...
Because that is what makes life so complex and interesting. Is like, a joke that serves me just in my regular life is like, subtitles on, my dad was saying, I love you, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? Like you're looking for like, how do people say... And then when I travel, meaning just go outside of these huge, very outlying metropolises, New York, LA, they're, I'm not saying they're better or worse. I'm just saying they're different. Like, and then you go to like kind of regular places, and I say that not in a condescending way. You see, there's still a lot of classic games being played.
Sure.
Like I listened to that Chappell Roan album, and I'm like, really? Your mom's still mad you're going to the Pink Pony Club? Is that still happening? Yeah, that still is happening. People are still uptight about their kids.
Yeah.
What the fuck is happening outside?
It sounds like it's right there, but it's not in this house.
Is it picking up?
I assume.
I mean, that sounds like murder.
Or more like the cover-up of a murder.
Well, at least we're two neurotic comedians. Are you neurotic?
I think by what scale? By the comedian scale, I would say
Not as much.
Not middle of the pack.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Are you like a sound like this?
Yeah.
Not to make it about me, but
Sure.
to open it up.
Yeah.
I interpret this in my body.
Yeah.
As this person is inconsiderate, which isn't true.
Right. They hate the podcast.
I'm not that. That would be the next.
That'd be the
leap.
next click. Yeah. Right.
That is. I'm aware of
Yeah.
seeing that is delusional.
Got it.
And
Okay.
self-centered.
Not everybody is.
Yeah.
We both know people who would absolutely be like, I can't
It's
believe.
against me. It's personal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And these are people that, and I say this with compassion.
Yeah.
Traffic is personal. Everything is a delayed flight is personal. Like Delta is out to get me.
Yeah.
I don't have that, but mine is just as strange, I suppose, in that this is my father yelling.
Got
in the
it.
house.
Okay.
And that lack of consideration, which is not what it is.
Yes.
I'm always fascinated with how the mind will make a jump that is not in its own best interest. That will make me so much more uncomfortable.
Yes.
Than if I was just like, so if people just joining us, like you just turned on your radio. There's a guy doing very loud chainsaw work.
Yes.
I could choose to interpret that as he's taking pride in his property. He's cleaning it up.
Right.
He wants it to look good. If it was
For the community.
For the community. If we lived in a post-apocalyptic, yes, if we lived in a Book of Eli or the Road style place,
Sure.
I'd be so happy to hear another person cleaning their yard.
Absolutely.
If it was a dystopian 4017, I'd be like, we used to have little plots and people would take care of them, and I'd start crying thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I just go right to like, if he won't consider that maybe, this is insane, someone might be recording a podcast, then what's to stop him from killing me?
Oh, interesting. It goes to fear.
I don't really think he's going to kill me,
Sure.
but I was just at a restaurant last night, and this, he looked like an electrical worker because he had like a neon vest on. He sat behind me. He was 30 times louder than everyone in the restaurant.
Yeah.
And he was swearing a lot. I like swearing, but he's like swearing really loudly and just kind of being a knucklehead.
Yeah.
Talking about money very like all these like things that are like uncouth.
Yeah.
And the reason he really gets a point on my map is I'm like, if he won't think about the climate and the atmosphere of a restaurant, he probably also doesn't. I also don't relate to him in lots of other ways, including like, is it appropriate to fist fight someone because you looked at them because they were being loud?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then, this society starts to break down. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And but then as soon as I hear him being kind or saying thank you so much to the waitress, I flip.
Yeah.
And I go like, this guy's a hero. He's the kind of guy that would stand up for us.
Sure.
Like if someone more dangerous came in, we would need him.
Yeah.
He's so bold.
That's it. Do you think this is that guy?
This could be the guy.
That same guy at the restaurant is.
This guy doing the work. It could be him, and I will cast it as him.
Yeah.
In my mind.
Now, in your mind, it's become him.
This episode is brought to us by our friends at Mud Water. I'm obsessed with Mud Water, not just for the energy that it gives me, but the energy and the warm, grounded earth feeling that I get from drinking it. It's not jittery. It's when you're feeling like kind of low, hitting a slump, 3 o'clock. It's also great in the morning, but especially in the afternoons where you want some more energy, you want some more focus, you want some more calm. but you don't want to lick the car battery that is drinking that third cup of coffee. It's a little too much. So Mud Water is an organic, gluten-free, and vegan coffee alternative that is so full of goodness, it's no wonder it makes you feel amazing. My energy is up and my sleep is improved now that I'm getting more natural energy and drinking less black caffeine water. Coffee. Powered by functional mushrooms and superfoods to boost your energy, your focus, and your immune system, each ingredient in Mud Water serves a purpose for a clean, natural boost. Their OG blend, which I love, contains cacao and chai for a hint of caffeine and a hot chocolate-like flavor, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps to promote natural energy, and both chaga and reishi to support a healthy immune system. Mud Water is like coffee's chill, yoga-loving cousin that went on a spiritual retreat and came back more zen and without any of those wild jitters. Imagine being alert and calm at the same time while not having trouble falling asleep at night. That's huge for me. Packed with adaptogens, antioxidants, and other fancy health words that will make you feel superior to your coffee drinking friends. So head to Mudwater, MUDWTR.com and grab your starter kit. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 43% off your entire order, free shipping, and a free rechargeable frother when you use code WEIRD. That's up to 43% off with code WEIRD at MUDWTR.com. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please give us a shout out. Let them know that these ads sent you there. Stay energized and refreshed all summer long with Mud. I guess you could say all fall long too. Stay energized and refreshed all fall long with Mud Water, because life's too short for anything less than natural, delicious energy. We're also brought to us by our friends at Apollo. I'm wearing my Apollo. I got my white one on right now. I love Apollo. If there's one piece of technology that's enhanced and improved my life the most, hands down, it is my Apollo Neuro. It is a piece of wearable tech that's like finding the fuse box to your nervous system. It sends almost sub-perceptual vibrations communicating to your body in a way that it can understand. It's like a wearable digital hug, creating the sensation that you're being held, hugged, and supported. It can help you relax, help you sleep, focus, fall back asleep. It is awesome to dial in with the focus setting. It's awesome to wake up with the energy setting. It's great. There's new ones. They're coming out with new ones. There's a new setting called Joy. That's the one I put when I'm on stage. They got Good Night, which helps you wind down at night. And I love that it's smart. It knows when you're most likely to be waking up in the night, and it keeps you asleep by gently lulling you and giving your body that sense of calm. You can wear it on the wrist, as I do, or the ankle. It's like finding a hack for your body. It's incredible. Developed by neuroscientists and a board-certified psychiatrist who have been studying the impacts of chronic stress in humans for nearly 15 years. Apollo is not a crystal. It is science, and their effects on stress, sleep, cognitive performance, and recovery have been proven in multiple clinical trials and real-world studies. Give it a try. You get $40 off when you use our link. Go to apolloneuro.com/weird and use promo code WEIRD. That's APOLLONEURO.com/weird. Support your body. Support the show. I'm going to now do my best to put it aside, because you were talking very interestingly about the economy of a short story.
Sure.
Which I'm very excited about, and the tightness. And did that serve you? Do you like writing sketches?
Yeah, for the
SNL?
same reason. Yeah, for the same reason. And
the tightness.
Yeah, totally. And then like even when I was writing for Pixar, it was the same. Even though those movies are 90 minutes long, the scripts are very short.
Yes.
So much of it is action. And
which ones did you work on?
The main one I worked on was Inside Out.
No way.
The first one, not this new
Flex.
one. Not this new one.
Sorry, but I don't consider the second one in the canon. Like a really weird take. I actually don't recognize it. I thought it was excellent, and there's always a sadness when it's a sequel because it's not the first one. The first one getting the first crack at like...
But there are some great Pixar sequels.
Oh, no. And I think Inside Out 2 is one of them. But it's always a continuation.
Yes.
The second year of marriage is never going to be the first year of marriage.
Yeah.
The first year of marriage, when you're figuring out like how they organize the refrigerator, everything's so fresh and new. It's always, by definition, going to be. Incredibles 2 is the same way.
Yeah.
It's a continuation. So you kind of know. And then here's the issue. You have an expectation, whereas when you went into Inside Out 1, you had no expectation.
Right.
I think about that as like, when you go to the optometrist and they go better or worse, better or worse.
Yeah.
So many of us are going through reality with like a lens on, And when you watch Inside Out 2, you have Inside Out 1 on you and you're going better or worse?
It's
Better
always
or
incredible
worse? Better
when
or
it's when it is better, because like I remember when I was a kid, they introduced Chewy Chips Ahoy, and
You just gave me like a sugar.
Yeah.
Like my face just.
and I remember being so cynical about it.
Me too.
I was like 10 years old and I was like, this is just a cash grab. This is like bullshit, actually, and like I'm not even gonna try it. And I remember like reluctantly at a slumber
In the
party.
red package.
In the red package, this okay. You just change the color to try to. This is just like advertising crap.
That's right.
And I ate one. And I was like, oh my god, they did it. They made it better. It was already great, and they made it even better. And it said
You're
like
freaking me
it said
out.
on the package like new and like better or something. And I was like, that's bullshit. I was like, oh my god, they
Horse feathers.
they discovered something in a laboratory.
They did.
And
a preserving agent
An incredible new chemical.
that would keep it, because
The other-
those
yeah.
do have a serious aftertaste
They do, yeah.
to a grown up.
They do, yeah. But to a child, it was just like manna from the heavens. The other thing that from that same era, I remember being very like almost moved by was when Tabasco and Slim Jims joined forces and invented the Tabasco
Slim Jim.
And I just thought like, this is
Like it was an alliance. Like
It's
something was
heroic.
settled at the UN.
yeah. They're like, look, we need each other. Like we've gotten as far as we can go.
I sometimes think about that too with corporations. I'm like, you guys,
Just get it
you
to-
have the best peanut butter. You have
have-
the best chocolate. Do it together.
Just do it. Just
and there is
do it. Traveling Wilburys. Put your egos aside.
Yes.
And just make beautiful music.
I'll join you for Tabasco Cheez-Its.
Oh, amazing.
Because I never got into Slim Jims.
Okay.
I always thought it was weird.
I mean, that is weird.
How is it?
That is weird.
How is it?
Yeah.
Just how is it?
Yeah.
How is it that shape?
Yeah.
How is it always fresh? What's going on?
Once you start asking questions, you just don't want to go down that
No.
road with Slim
Don't
Jim.
snap into those.
No, yeah. leave that unsnapped.
Some things are best left unsnapped.
Yeah.
Snap into the Slim Jim. Don't snap into any of the details about the
You
Slim
don't
Jim.
need to get into everything.
Was that Macho Man Randy Savage?
Yes, it was. Snap into a Slim Jim.
Look, even if you
So
love
aggressive.
wrestling, we can agree. It's just putting it on a plate, isn't it? His name was Macho Man Randy Savage.
The best.
What are they like? Macho men.
It was great.
Let's name one of them Macho Man Randy Savage.
It's perfect. It's perfect branded.
But it's not very a turd.
Well, it's never subtle. But
That's right.
With wrestling, but I think that's the charm.
That's the fun. It's just a blue Slurpee.
Yeah.
It's a blue Slurpee, and you can scream so hard.
That was sort of the difference. Also, I remember from like a 90s like junk food marketing was McDonald's. All of their commercials were like they were going for like the family values play.
Yeah.
And so all of their commercials would be like like a single dad, and like he picks up his daughter and
Finally
brings her a
gets her to
happy meal,
smile,
and it's like
yeah.
it's like they've bonded. And then Burger King was just like screaming about it, like just like the biggest beef, like shove it in your face, like it was just so craven and no emotional content. Just like it was like McDonald's was trying to market to humans and Burger King was trying to market to animals or something.
That's right. Well, it's a little Disney. McDonald's is Disney.
Right.
If we were on drugs, I feel like saying McDonald's is Disney would be like a mind-blowing revelation. Meaning
Could
there's like I'm not saying you didn't respond
Sure,
enough.
yeah.
That just has the flavor of something you'd be
Yeah.
like, wait, there's corporate strategies and they're shared. McDonald's is like, we're America and we're a family and it's very clean.
Yes.
And Six Flags is Burger King maybe?
Yeah, that
Or
feels
maybe
like
Knott's Berry Farm, but it's very like
the Six Flags feels right. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it's
but Six Flags is a little honest. It's like we know you want to see gore.
Yeah.
Maybe Elvira is there. Maybe there's like
Yeah.
a little titillation.
Sure.
Like there's an acknowledgement of the genitals.
Yes.
At Six Flags.
Yeah.
It's like it's not in your face.
Right.
But they're like,
Yeah.
come on.
Absolutely.
It's not quite Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah.
But Randall Savage, MD, is there. Okay, so you do like writing sketches because they're I don't know if you're like me. but I imagine you are. There's the like perfect way to set it up, and there's
Yeah.
the perfect way to end it.
Well, at SNL, I was always, because when I was there, Seth Meyers was my like, head writer, my boss, and my sketches were literally too short.
Oh,
and
wow.
and this is back. Now it's a completely different show because they have so many pre-taped things, but they didn't have like the technology or the budget basically
yes.
to have a lot of pre-taped stuff. You would maybe have a commercial parody. There'd be The Lonely Island would do a digital short, and that was often like it, you know. And
that's
so
right.
and so the sketches had to be the length of an act of television.
Right.
They had to, you know,
That's
they had to be a
so
certain length.
wild to think.
Yeah, and so you couldn't just then have infinite, you know, pre-tapes to fill in the gaps.
Infinite
and so, yeah, and so, and so, yeah, no, that's perfect. That's good. That works. And so, but yeah, they were always like, "Can you add?" So I was always adding like bad pages.
Padding it.
Yeah, padding it, and then cutting an address.
Oh, it would eventually. That's really funny.
My first couple years, and I'd be like, okay, here's like the 7-page sketch would do well at read through, and
Yes.
then like we need to add a couple pages of jokes.
Yeah.
And we would, and then we would cut it back down.
Really?
To the 7 pages.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm realizing that I've been flattering myself thinking that I like to be tight. I fantasize that maybe I'll go in and I'll write it tight, but I don't. Me just realizing for the producers when we were doing Crashing would give them the 7-page scene.
Yeah.
But then on the day we'd have the 20-page scene. And that's what we would shoot. But the line producer, bless his heart, but you know what I mean? Like, I understand his plight. He's like, we can't shoot 20 pages. And I was like, but we riff. If you wrote out everything we riffed, it would be 20 pages. So let us just have it. Why are we? I always felt burdened with trying to remember the things we cut.
Sure.
And those would be the things that would make it. So I'm actually quite sloppy.
Well, it's just a different. I mean, I love. There's like huge double albums that are totally indulgent and all over the place that I absolutely love. It's just kind of like but yeah, like on the show like Man Seeking Woman. The longest episode of that show is like maybe 21 minutes. And a lot of the episodes are like 18 and a half minutes.
Oh, wow.
Which was like, I think illegal because like to air on television.
Whoa.
And so we would have to like you can't, just like how you can't call something like a hamburger unless it has a certain amount of like actual beef in it.
Really?
It was like, it was like meant to be a half-hour
Wendy's
sitcom.
lawsuit?
Something like that. So they're like, it has to be 19 minutes at least for it to air on, you know, as a sitcom. And I think it had to do also with like selling to foreign territories. So we would have to like have these elaborate credit sequences.
I did notice, first of all, I was very upset that I'm glad we did this chat because that's how I found out about Man Seeking Woman. And then Katie knows this. I was like, how are we supposed to find out about shows? I don't understand.
Well,
I know you probably feel the same way just in your life. It's like people go like, hey, you should check this out, and you watch it and it's incredible.
Yeah.
There's 10 seasons of it and you're like, where was this? That's how I feel about it. It's so good.
Thank you. It was so much fun to do. I mean, it's it's thrilling that so many of us got a chance to make weird shows, you know, during this huge explosion of content.
Yeah.
And then there's also like, you can't help but be jealous of artists who maybe had less competition for attention. Like I always think of like how awesome it would be to be like Charles Dickens, and there's only like 3 authors in the world,
so funny.
And you're one of them. And it's like, they have stories of like, hundreds and hundreds of people like lining up in the freezing cold to read like the latest installment of Dickens's novel.
Wow.
And then it's part of it is that they're like have a love of literature, but part of it also is there's literally nothing else to do.
Right. I feel that way about Shakespeare. It's like you go to the new Globe Theater.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not there anymore. But like the groundlings, they'd be on the ground, like the regular folks. It's like, it was either that or watch your plague progress.
That's it.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's not saying Shakespeare isn't great, obviously.
No, it's great, but
it was hugely popular.
Yeah, it was that stare at your most interesting candle.
That's right. And that's only going to last how long?
Yeah. If you're
half the night.
Yeah, right, exactly. Maybe.
No, I feel that way very, very much about music. And I'm not even really that interested in marketing. But when you look at like what Childish Gambino, Donald Glover does, is there these people that seem to understand that music tied to experience becomes music that you like.
Yes.
So they try to make, like Michael Jackson did it as well with the like unveiling of the video.
Yeah.
And Donald would do SNL, and then they'd drop This Is America,
Yeah.
and then the album would come out. So that's what we need, because I listen to, like, honestly, like Lisa Loeb just did the show. I listened to her new record, and I was like, if any of these songs came out in 19, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not a great record. I'm saying it would have been a huge hit before everyone's making a record.
Right, sure.
And everyone's making a movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure you have this phenomenon. You sit down with an idea. Do you Google it first?
All the time.
Isn't that a nightmare?
Yeah.
How many times I've typed in book titles into Amazon and just been like, please God, no. Or IMDb, I'm like, please God, no. And sometimes it will be taken, and I'm like, but it's really small.
But you can't copyright a title.
Ooh,
which is why,
Pride and Prejudice by Pete Holmes.
There's this great one where this I forget her name, but she's a novelist who wrote like a well-received, like independent press novel. Probably sold like a few thousand copies, and then Stephen King published a novel like 10 years later that unwittingly had the exact same title.
Whoa.
He wasn't ripping her off; he just had the same notion.
Yeah.
And she basically, about 1 out of 10 Stephen King fans like bought her book by mistake, and she got all the royalties. So
which book was it?
I don't remember which one it was, but you look it up. Like, and she started this great blog called "Spending the Stephen King Money," which is just every time a royalty check came in, she would like buy a computer and post about it. And King, to his credit, was like, "That rules, and you deserve every time because it was your title first." And
she got it.
She got it.
She got it.
So
that makes
cool.
me really happy.
Isn't that great?
This is like the people that buy, like, remember 1-800-CALL-ATT was huge? And then there was a sub-market of people that would buy 1-800-CALLATTT
Yes, every
or
permutation.
something. Every permutation of a mistake.
Yes.
And then there's the people that would buy Nike.com
Yes.
before. But then they put a stop. I think they put a stop to it. I think it's illegal. Like, it's like corporate entrapment to like scoop someone on a website and extort them for lots and lots of money.
Yeah, just Exxon. You can't just Exxon oil spill help site .org. .gov.org.
It's just disasters.
You can't just like
the
every
darkest predictions.
Every oil spill, help site .gov.help. .care
or Arizona beachfrontproperties.com.
Yeah.
Because California
California water shortage helps
Mars
site.
waiting list .gov.
Hospital cholera
Sex robots.
Sure.
That was your book is not only worth reading, it's worth rereading because it's so packed. And there are so many things like, can you speak a little bit? Like, so there's a joke about sex robots in the first chapter. This is Glory Days, read by John Mulaney. And I don't know why I went for it. It came out okay.
It's not bad.
It was okay.
Better than most.
I'll take it. So that was the critic. That was John Lovitz's character, the critic. It stinks. Wait.
Ooh, that's good.
Did we just realize that Mulaney's just doing the critic?
Is he just doing the critic this whole time?
Young John Mulaney watched the critic and was like, I've got it. Nobody talks like that.
No.
Come on. You heard it here first. Joe, put up Mulaney and put up the critic. It'll get a lot of clicks. Where were we? I was saying, the sex robot thing. So I'm interested in, you've written books, you've written movies, you've written fiction, you've done it all, sketches. How do you know, or what is the process of like listening to what an idea wants to be?
Oh yeah.
So like sex robots.
Yeah.
Even the notion of a child on Earth 2 interviewing his grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a story.
That could be a movie, right? I mean,
yeah.
And that has to cross your mind. What do you...
Well, sort of. It could be, but it would be better as a short story. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's great. But how do you know? Do you know in the writing or?
Well, it's all about kind of like for me to write it as a short story, there has to be some kind of voice, some kind of like specific prose voice that is like elemental to the story. So like, because movies are all like, they're in the third person. They're, it's like you're not inside one character's head typically.
Right.
There are like experimental exceptions, like something like Beau is Afraid. You kind of are trapped in
it's
one.
Funny, I was thinking Beau is Afraid
you are
because,
like,
do you know why?
Why?
For one point, it's the trope of the second child in the attic.
Oh, yes.
Which
Absolutely.
is
Yes.
Not a child. Did you like Beau is Afraid?
Loved
Sidebar.
it.
I also loved it.
Loved it.
I didn't know people hate it. A lot of people hate it.
I don't know.
I
Can't imagine why.
Pro tip, it's a comedy.
Yes.
I was watching it and people were like,
it's
taking
hilarious.
it too seriously. And I was like, it's so funny. When there's the tattooed face guy chasing him as he's getting in his door, I was like,
so funny.
This is to help us laugh at anxiety.
Yes.
Like that's what we think
Yeah.
the world is.
Right. It's perfect.
And I was like, it made me feel so much less alone. That's what
Absolutely.
it feels like. Like I hear a chainsaw and I go, that's
Yeah.
my father and he's going to eat me.
Right.
And then you see a movie and you're like, it's just how this fucking thing malfunctions
That's
sometimes.
it. And you're locked into his point of view, and
You're locked in, and
just you can't escape. And
it's the butler.
Yeah.
It's the butler. He's a broken toy.
Yeah.
There's some really good analyses. I don't know if you're like a film analyst. I like, water being the symbol of his mother.
Sure.
When someone explained that to me, then I rewatch and you're like, it was there the whole time. And how we speak in symbols and how that permeates us in a way that I'm like, why did I like that movie? And you realize it was like a dream or something. Anyway, sorry, sidebar.
No,
Just
it's great.
excited to talk about
That's
Beau
a
is
great
Afraid.
movie. Yeah. I love all his movies. Yeah. I think that's his best one.
I haven't seen any of that director's other movies.
Ari Aster, yeah, he's amazing.
Is Brad Astra?
And
Ad Astra?
Ari
Astra.
yeah.
He did one called Mother.
Midsummer.
Oh no. Wasn't there one about a horror movie with
Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
He's awesome.
So you were saying how we know an idea is a certain idea. A movie is from a third person.
Yeah,
Sometimes
unless you're like a visionary director who someone has miraculously given a lot of money to make a movie.
Right.
They all kind of have to be like this, third person. You're not in either of our heads. You're just watching us talk. But in a short story, in fiction, you have the freedom to be like locked into a specific point of view.
Right.
Which
in
is,
this case, the child.
Yeah.
It's
so
almost a little Princess Bridey in a fun way. It's from this kid's perspective.
Yeah.
And there's no way to spoil it. It's the thing is the reading of the thing. But when it's like he wanted to be a writer, he wanted to print paper stories for paper, and they're going to sedate him because he must be
must be insane if he's.
And I was like, that is really good satire.
Thank you.
It's like, again, it's like a revelation you would have on a strong dose of mushrooms. It's like, and I mean that in the best way. I'm trying to write this to get paper so that I can. It's the most basic lava lamp thing.
Yeah.
It's like we have all that we need, but we withhold it from each other until you have a representation of gold.
Yes.
We give you time coupons. Like you give me your time, I give you a coupon. Then you get an ice cream, but couldn't the ice cream man just make ice cream because he loves it and give it to me? And then I could give him, accounting or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we just helping each other? And we're like, because it's more fun this way. It's like, it's like edging. We're somehow edging pleasure and creating all these weird structures. Anyway, you said all of that in like one little joke, and it was so funny.
Thank you. Yeah, that story is like it's told from the perspective of my great grandchild who is on Earth 2 because the Earth has exploded. Yeah, and he or she is just kind of doing a history report. Like the kids like in 5th grade or whatever, and they asked me to interview the oldest person in my family, and so I interviewed my dying great grandfather Simon Rich, and here's what life was like on Earth.
Yes.
And it's just kind of a futuristic perspective on kind of what it was to be a millennial in the 2000s.
Yes.
And that's kind of my favorite thing to do is just to tell kind of very traditional generic stories, but from an unusual point of view.
Well, that's like Man Seeking Woman.
Yeah.
The first date he goes on is with a troll.
Right.
And that's, I don't even know what to compare it to, which is so fun. But like Jay Baruchel plays it like he's just on a date.
Sure.
And heightened reality is so tricky. Like you can lose it, I feel like, so easily.
Yeah. You can do it. I mean, that's why so many of my influences are like horror writers and like science fiction writers. And the other place you see a lot of like surreal stuff is sketch comedy.
Yeah.
So like I loved growing up like Kids in the Hall and Mr. Show and The State and a show like Get a Life, the Chris Elliott show.
Oh yeah.
It's like hugely like just like mind blowing for me like watching that.
Yeah.
And sort of like later like mid season like sort of post Conan Simpsons.
Yeah.
They went into like more surreal places.
Yes.
Which it was more naturalistic in the early years. And my favorite is like the Oakley Weinstein kind of era, where it sort of drifts more into kind of, you could have a space alien could appear.
Right.
And then you could sort of break from reality all in this, if it was in the service of an emotional story. So that's like,
Whereas early Simpsons is Marge falls in love with her bowling instructor.
yeah, right. Yeah. Which is also great.
Which is great.
But it's like, strictly speaking, does not necessarily even need to be an animated show.
Which was the joke at first.
Yes.
Was like, look,
we're gonna
it's
do
an
it.
animated,
Yeah.
grown-up, regular.
It's going to be realistic.
They're eating, like,
Yeah.
remember how mind-blowing it was that they ate dinner? Like, that you could hear them
Yes.
chewing and
Yes.
burping, and we were like, what?
Absolutely.
And then that did wear off.
yeah,
And
right.
then you need the
Yeah.
phase that you're talking about.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
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 It's, keep going.
Oh, no, totally. Yeah. That's like, that was always the stuff I love the most, where it's exactly our reality, but there's one big surreal shift that is some kind of emotional metaphor.
Yes.
Like Stephen King, like a thing he did all the time was, they used to call the sort of literary term that they used to use was like, they called it Kmart realism, which was like a kind of like literary fiction term that basically is like, you're going to be so naturalistic that you're going to like name the products even that people are consuming, which was like verboten. Like you weren't supposed to do that.
Right.
You weren't supposed to be like, and then he picked up the 2-liter bottle of Pepsi and he poured it into his, like that, for some reason that was considered like, I don't know, like tasteless.
Yeah.
And Stephen King would always do that. And the reason why is because it makes the scary thing so much more pronounced.
Because you're in a world.
Your world.
Your world.
You're in your world.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much more scary and powerful when there's a demon in the attic, if it's actually your attic.
Right.
And
right.
it's you were just in your kitchen.
You just had a
and
Coke.
You had an actual Coke, and that looks exactly like the Coke you drink every day.
That's
and
so
then,
funny.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, go for it.
I was just going to say that's sort of one of the pleasures of marketing. If you, again, it's kind of a far out thought experiment, but you have 2 daughters. If you consider what reality is like for them and how strange and ever changing it is, just as it is for us, we just have all these tethers that we've manufactured that create consistency, and that's very comforting.
Yeah.
That's why we like in the supermarket that they play Wake Me Up Before You Go. You go like, I've heard this song before. Okay, I'm still on Earth. Like, I'm still here. Like, I remember that. I remember my old car. Like, okay, there's some continuity here. And like marketing exploits that. Obviously, like there's a comfort. If I offered you like a weird, this is almost like Freudian. If I offered you a new kind of cola, there would be almost, I bet somewhere deep in your body, a little bit of fear. Like
Absolutely.
you're like, what's going on here?
Oh, yeah.
And excitement and all of these things.
Right.
But the familiarity of the red can of Coke. So my daughter watches Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
Sure.
And then, so she's looking in this portal. It's just like a, the first time I went to a movie theater after COVID, you remember how psychedelic and trippy it is. Mm-hmm. Here's your field of vision now in the dark room. That's your life now. Just you come out and you like remember your body. It's like waking up from a dream. So my daughter's looking in that portal. There's Daniel Tiger. It's very real to her. Then we go to the grocery store. We know that this is a different kind of real. This is Daniel Tiger's make-believe, but now we're in the grocery store.
Yeah.
But then she sees a bag of like puffy cheese crisps and Daniel Tiger's on the bag.
Yeah.
Of course she wants it.
Yes.
What are you, nuts? She's seeing one of her only continuities
That's
other
it.
than Mama and Dada.
Right.
So you kind of have to understand, like, I get it. Like the parent that's like, no, that's garbage or that's stupid or it's overpriced or whatever.
It's the only thing they recognize. Yeah, it's the only comfortable,
And it's all we're doing
identifiable.
too.
It's the only thing we do.
We're going, even me talking to you, I'm like,
Yeah.
Simon, I know Simon's telling me the thing. It's like, oh, we know the thing.
Yeah,
And we're relating. We're marketing to each other. Like,
That's
this
it.
is reality and everything's okay.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah, children have such few reference points.
That's right.
It's very sweet to see them try to, bridge social gaps between each other, like trucks.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
Trucks?
trucks. Yeah,
Trucks.
Sometimes it's just like I don't know trucks, and it's like and the other kid's like, I got nothing else.
The
I
excitement.
just have trucks.
I remember the first kid I met that I was impressing because I could draw better than him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I was like, that's how I found my drug. I was like,
Yeah.
oh. He like wanted, I drew a comic book called Yo-Yo Man.
Cool.
And he was like, can I have this? And I was like, it begins.
That's so exciting. That must have been absolutely thrilling.
What was yours? What was an early one for you when you noticed
I
that you
had
could stand out?
memorized catchphrases from like popular sitcoms, maybe like in like kindergarten
Got
or
any
first
cheese?
grade.
Oh, that's a little late. Kindergarten, you're looking at what?
Kindergarten would have been, but I guess like post Alf. I don't know what it would have been.
God.
Alf is great.
I was just going to say, aren't we all the Alf generation?
The thing about Alf, which is so fun, which is basically, and don't fact check me on this or anything else I've said, but I think basically it was a horrific place to work by all accounts. Just like a very
People didn't like working on Alf.
They did not love working on Alf, and it was a very just toxic, dysfunctional, creative
Because of
environment.
Alf?
I don't know how much of it was Alf personally, but just the whole vibe was bad. So they had a new showrunner like every few episodes or so. And so as a result, the entire character of Alf would change drastically from like month to month. And so I would watch like a highlight reel and there'd be like an episode where he's just like really into trenchant political satire. And then the next month he's like just like a dog. And then the next month he's like a catty, like show business gossip.
They're trying to like dial in Alf.
And it's just like, but it's wild swings. They just hire another comedy writer. It's your Alf now, and he'd be like, okay, well, here's what I don't think Eddie Murphy should be allowed to direct a movie, and Alf just like has a whole run about it. When like last month,
I don't think Eddie Murphy should be able to direct.
Right, and it's like the previous month he was just like a dog.
Wow.
And he's like the pet, and it's so fun to imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah,
The
I am
chaos
lit
of
up
that.
today. I would love a movie about
The inconsistencies.
making of Alf.
I would love, the inconsistencies of Alf.
But Alf had to impact both of us because that like was so exciting. Like that was the time.
I feared Alf.
You were afraid of Alf.
Yeah, I feared Alf.
Why?
There's something.
Because he eats cats.
Yeah.
He's got that caterpillar nose.
Yeah. Everything about it, I just was like, I can't.
His hair was kind of like a little too human. He had
Yeah.
kind of like a Parker Lewis can't lose swoosh.
The uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond the pale. I'll
Yeah.
add to that. You guys are well aware that I am absolutely obsessed with the life-changing productivity drink, Magic Mind. I'm always offering it to our guests. We're always shipping it to our guests because they love it and they want more of it. I love Magic Mind. I don't know why I said it in that voice. I love Magic Mind. I travel with it. When I go on shows, I put it in a little bag so I can get it through security. That's how obsessed. What is it? It's a little bit of matcha. It's a little bit of adaptogens, which help you feel calm and focused. And it's a little bit of nootropics, which give your brain what it needs to dial in. Those three together give you the perfect mix of energy and calm to get you in that flow state. It doesn't give you that jitter. It gives you flow. So it's like Creatorade. Athletes have Gatorade. Now we have Creatorade. Anything you're doing that's creative, having a conversation, having a date with Val, writing, stand-up, I absolutely take Magic Mind before I do it, and I can feel that difference. Get 30% more done on average. That's 5 to 7 hours of 30% more productivity. fighting off procrastination, brain fog, fatigue, and some symptoms of ADD. And they have a money-back guarantee, which means you have nothing to lose. We have a special offer. Go to magicmind.co/weird. You'll get 20% off your first order. Go to magicmind.co/weird and use promo code WEIRD for a limited 20% off your first order. I'm surrounded. I'm on my desk. I got boxes of Magic Mind, and I burn through it. I absolutely love it, and you will too. Speaking of nootropics, I take my Magic Mind with my Alpha Brain. Alpha Brain is a nootropic supplement. It is earth-grown ingredients. It's not caffeinated. It doesn't give you any caffeine-like energy. It gives you that nutrition that your brain needs, earth-grown ingredients to help you focus. For over 10 years now, if I'm doing stand-up, if I'm writing a script, if I'm doing an episode of this podcast, I am always taking about 3, usually 2 or 3 Alpha Brain before I start. It is a game changer. Whatever you're doing that involves your brain, Alpha Brain is here to support that, help you with your memory, help you with your focus, and help you with your creativity. I absolutely swear by it. I have it in all my travel bags. I have it in the pockets of my coats. I have it in my car. You will love it. Support this show. Support your brain. Get creating. Get more work done. And give your brain the support that it needs. Go to ONNIT, ONNIT.com/weird. You'll get 10% off everything you see on that landing page. ONNIT.com/weird. Use promo code WEIRD. Support your brain. Support the show. Do you remember Scorched?
No.
Or Scorch?
No.
They tried to do an Alf-style show with a dragon.
Oh, great.
Named
Okay.
Scorch. And
Awesome.
it just really made you realize. It goes back to our thing about Charles Dickens. It's like Alf was at a time when it was like, it's either the interesting candle or Alf.
That's it. Yeah, there wasn't a lot of competition for my attention in those days. I mean, we had,
It was networks. It was like, are you Wicked? Are you going to watch Fox? Are you gonna, watch ABC?
Yeah.
NBC?
Yeah, I just remember the feeling of when the sadness of when the news would come on, and you were like, "Oh, I guess it's over."
That's like Melania. I guess Melania's on my mind. That bit about the dad that pulls into McDonald's and just gets a black coffee.
Yeah.
That's the feeling of the news coming on.
Yeah.
The news.
Ah, the news.
Are you a big news person now?
No.
I'm gonna say something, Simon.
Yeah.
I don't get it. The people that are just mainlining it, but that's fine if that's your thing.
Yeah.
But like, why it's considered like virtuous to be like, I'm up on the news.
Well, because I always think like, this is my thing about the news is it's like, it's gonna change.
That's right.
So I want to know. So you could save so much time just by
waiting.
If you could watch the news every day for 7 days, or you could watch it on the 7th day. And you would know as much,
Simon,
as if you watched the previous 6 newses.
You, sir.
Or you could wait you could wait your entire life and maybe watch the news like one time as you were dying, and you would know you could save a lifetime of news watching.
That you just articulated what I've been feeling for so long.
Yeah.
At that lunch with the loud guy behind me, we were talking about COVID. Still out there, still going around.
Yes.
People still going like, wear the masks. The opinions still differ. There hasn't really been like a conclusive, like, we know,
Yes.
Because the human body is so variable. This isn't like a hot take moment. So there's no risk here. I'm just saying, like, in a conversation about COVID, what you get is a lot of people going like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And like, why don't we just go like, I don't know. I don't know. You don't know.
About everything.
We don't know.
We'll probably know later.
Yeah.
More stuff than we know now in general.
I will say in 2020, if I knew in 2024, it would still be kind of like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Like, we're not.
It's hard for a human being to sit, or at least for me, to sit in the unknown. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's like the
No,
hardest.
I wanted the summary.
Yeah.
But especially when you're, I'm bored. I don't want to talk about that. Tell me an SNL story. Were you there when Trump was there? Were you there?
I was not there when Trump was there. I was there when, what time is it, by the way? I just want to make sure.
I got eyes on the clock. It's 11:50. I know you have to leave at 12:30.
Oh, we're fine. Yeah. So I was there during the 2008 election. That was the election I was there for.
Okay.
So that was my second year, Mulaney's first year. And I was in a sketch with Obama.
What?
I was an extra. It was one of the only times I was ever on camera. They would sometimes put writers into sketches as extras to save money.
Yeah.
And so
You, Harvard egghead.
sure, you're going to wear this wig and stand in the back. And so I played Dennis Kucinich, a supporting character, to be sure, in the sketch.
Yes.
And I like sat a couple chairs away from Obama. But here's the thing about my sort of
Did he host?
no, but he was in one sketch.
He just
When
showed up.
He just showed up and played himself in a political sketch that I think Seth wrote. But
Wow.
every single politician who came to SNL, and I don't want to name names, but they were all extremely nervous, and like it was the highest stakes, most important day of their lives.
That Obama was there.
No, that they were on SNL.
Oh.
Except for Obama. He was the only person who
Misunderstood. He was cool.
everybody else who came, Democrat or Republican, was like, I can't believe I'm going to be on SNL. And it's like, well, you're also like running for president and like, or like you're also like a sitting governor, and there's like
Yes.
a tornado that just killed some of your
Yeah.
constituents. Like, and they'd all just be like, I can't believe this is happening to me. And,
Wow.
and just frantic about their makeup and is everything okay? And Obama, when President Obama came, he sat in the green room and he was working on a speech, and he was happy to be there, but he was
He
just
was taking part of his attention.
part of his attention. And then when it was time for him to come out, he sort of was grateful for the break and thought it was like a fun diversion and had a good time doing it. And I remember he said to Kristen like how much he loved like some of her characters.
Oh, wow.
And he was happy to be there. He wasn't like stuck up about it at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
But it was not the main thing he was doing. The main thing he was doing was trying to become president of the free world.
Wow.
Yeah. And so leader of the free. Yeah. So it was such a different attitude, and he was just so much cooler than
Yeah.
every other politician who came through there.
Do you have any feelings on like having Trump on and that sort of stuff, or like how Will Ferrell humanized Bush? And
Yeah.
I know that's an old issue, but
I don't know. What I will say is that's a really, really hard show to do.
yeah.
And any, it's you have no choice but to engage with culture. And culture is often like complex and toxic.
Yeah.
And there's not always like the way I think about like Lorne Michaels and his running of SNL is it's like there's often people are like it's on fire and there's some smoke coming out of a window, and it's like what they don't realize is like Lorne put out 28 fires and there's like one left. He couldn't quite. And maybe that fire had to be there because it was either that fire or this even bigger fire. Like he is like doing so much to make it not just a complete clusterfuck. It's so hard. Like if it's only like sort of on fire,
It's
it's
pretty
a
good.
testament to like how good a job he is doing at running it.
Do you think it'll go on past him?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It does seem like one of those Willy Wonka things.
Yeah.
Like no one knows when to feed the Oompa Loompas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe that's what I want to think it is.
No, I mean it's he is still completely running that show.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a hard show to run.
Yeah. It doesn't seem chill. Did you like it? I know you liked it, but did you enjoy it?
It was really scary. Like just the but I've always been afraid of audiences. So and how work is going to be perceived by audiences, especially crowds. So I was really terrified every Saturday, for my 4 years there. It was like just absolute fear. Saturday afternoons, just terror. But I felt just as scared.
That you would bomb?
Yeah.
Your sketch,
Totally.
sketch, or the whole show, or just
Oh, just my sketch. I didn't care about anybody but myself, of course. But I didn't care. Yeah.
because if it bombed, presumably next week it would be harder for you to get a sketch on.
No, not really. It was more existential. Like if I can't make this crowd laugh, then maybe I'm just no good at this because it's
Imposter
so
syndrome.
Yeah, it's so meritocratic. They don't know who wrote it.
Yeah.
They're just either gonna laugh or not. So it if you turn in like a story to your, creative writing professor,
Yeah.
and they're like, this sucks, you could delude yourself into being like, oh, they're probably just jealous, or like,
Right.
or like, oh, they're not up with
They don't
trends.
they don't want me to get a big head with
Sure.
one for me.
Yeah, but a
isn't
crowd of
SNL a notoriously bad live audience? That's what I've heard.
no,
Really?
no, they're from Chicago and they're happy to be going to a show in New York City.
Yeah.
They're excited.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
What I heard was like it's such a hot ticket, so a lot of them are like agencies giving tickets to. So that's
the
why you
only
see
time
weird celebrities in the crowd.
The only time you would see that would be if there was like a teen heartthrob who was a musical guest.
Yeah.
And then it would be some children of powerful people. So you would see like,
Trying to make children of powerful people laugh.
yeah. So it's like, oh, there are a lot of Justin Bieber, like wealthy Justin Bieber fans there
Yeah,
tonight or something.
yeah.
And those would be tough. But usually it's tourists who
Are thrilled
to be seeing SNL.
Yeah.
Most of them for the first time in their life.
Yeah.
It's like an electric crowd. Like if you bomb in front of that crowd, it's not the crowd's fault.
It's on you.
It's on you. Yeah.
Who surprised you? What guest or musical act or?
Well, Ham was like none of us knew how great he was going to be. That was sort of
Daryl Ham?
that's what we call him. That's the insider.
John Ham's John Ham. I know Seth wrote that, but I
great.
mean, what
Fantastic.
a triumph.
Yeah, so
and Ham and Bubbly.
It's great.
Fucking
So good.
fantastic.
Yes.
His eyes went black and he slapped my face. There's
Yeah.
things from Ham's appearances on SNL.
I still think about
quote
some of them.
and say,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. He was the one where it was everybody loved Mad Men,
Yeah.
and that was our only, or most of us, that was our only frame of reference
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
And so we just like, okay, he's a really good actor, and we're excited to meet him. And then he turned out to be this like unbelievably versatile
Yeah.
comedy performer. It was that was thrilling.
That's, yep.
And then we had some that were the inverse, where you're like, oh, this is like a legendary comedy star, and then they're terrible. But, but we won't get into that. But sometimes it's like,
Is there a kind way to say someone that surprised you? I don't want
I
to
only
get you
say
in
that
trouble.
the ones who did better
Yeah.
than expectations. But
No,
that was the
that's-
one where it was like, oh wow, we cannot wait for him to host again and again and again.
Yeah. Did you know Mark Zuckerberg? That's on your Wikipedia page. That
We
he
were
was a classmate.
classmates. Yeah, so we were classmates at Harvard, but I never met him at school because we were hanging out in different scenes.
What was your scene?
My scene was like the nerdy comedy
Lampoon.
writing scene. Yeah,
What was his scene?
the
Just what you would imagine.
taking over the world scene, just like secret meetings in the dead of night, like passing skulls back and forth, and by the light of the moon, and plotting. No, I don't know what his scene was, but he dropped out pretty quickly. So we were only there together for a year, because by sophomore year he was gone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he never graduated, so
Yeah.
it's sort of a failure.
So
On some level.
click on that education tab. It's only a couple years, is it?
That's it.
That's all he needed. Okay, so who else?
I did meet him at SNL.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And did you say?
I said...
We were in Harvard together?
I said, hey.
Did you do the handshake?
We did the handshake. It was awkward because you're supposed to do it in a bathroom stall, but we had to do it, we did it in Lauren's office. But
Because he hosted?
he was there because...
Elon Musk was there?
Yeah, it was Pol Pot. It was Dahmer.
A Pol Pot pull is a pull. A Pol Pot is, always unexpected and delightful. What a fun riff. Why was he there?
Because Jesse Eisenberg was there to promote Social Network. That's why.
I thought they were like not affiliated and not thrilled about that.
I think it was, they were trying to do, they were obsessively trying to do damage control. Zuckerberg cares, I think, a lot about his sort of public image.
Yeah.
And so
Put in the image of him water skiing.
so he did not love that a movie was coming out where it was depicted as like this megalomaniacal Satan.
Yeah.
And so he did a number of like things that month to kind of offset
Offset.
the film. And
Right.
one of them was he gave a lot of money, I think, to the Newark public school system. So
control the narrative.
Yeah, I remember that. And then the other thing he did was come on SNL.
What's so weird, though, and I think this is worthy of your intellect, what's so strange is when I feel like we all watch The Social Network, and to a lesser extent, I didn't like it, but I watched Super Pumped, or really any movie about the American business movie.
Yeah.
In Super Pumped with Uber, they broke all these laws.
Yep.
They like hacked the iTunes or the Apple App Store. They were tracking people. It was just a lot of like illegal stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, Social Network, we all know that story. But I feel like we're so consumer obsessed, money obsessed, and power obsessed that we don't care. These are just like our gladiators. We don't care if they cut off heads or burn down villages. We're like, yeah, but now they go to St. Bart's. Like, we don't care at all, right?
No, I mean, Steve Jobs, I mean, that was one of the weirdest things I ever saw was when I was at Pixar. Steve Jobs died when I was there. And people were weeping. And young people who had never met him. It was wild.
Yeah.
I was walking through campus and it was all these young people in their 20s just weeping at the thought that this man had died. And say what you will about his, skills and his accomplishments, like by all accounts, like a tough dude to work for. And I just couldn't believe that he had been so like lionized and that he was worshipped when like every single story about him is harsh.
Yeah, and there's a lot of corner cutting, strange thing. Steve Jobs is one of my, I wouldn't say obsessions, but I'm very interested in him.
Yeah.
And there's like the Xerox came up with the desktop kind of thing. And there's all these moments that we don't care.
Right.
Like you could say like, but he got that from them, and it's like,
Right.
And even me,
Right.
even as I'm saying that, I'm like, that doesn't ruin his legacy for me.
Yeah.
Because we love winners.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big, like, the cynical note I heard early on as a screenwriter from an executive where I was like, that can't possibly be true. You have such low respect for audiences. And then I actually went on Wikipedia that night and I was like, oh my God, it's true.
Wait, what isn't true?
This note that he gave me.
What's the note?
He said to me, look, don't worry about any of that shit that of like relationships and like, backstory and context and character work. That's all stupid. If you want the audience to root for the main character, just make them good at their job. Nothing else matters.
Wow.
And I was like, that can't be true. And then I checked, and it turned out to be true.
Well, Tony Stark.
Sure.
I mean, there's
anybody.
a million. And Zuckerberg's character because it's not exactly right, but yeah, for sure.
Sure. House, anybody. Anyone.
I'll add House of Cards.
Sure.
Because he's a murderer.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
You don't care. You're like, oh, yeah, he's really good. He's good. That's it.
Yeah, and what's funny is on the other side of that, Blade is the same guy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say also Blade.
Blade as well.
Also
He's very good at his job.
job.
He goes in that nightclub where they're all vampires.
He's
He
fine.
kills them all.
Yeah, it's great.
He kills them all in the blood shower.
Yep.
Blade doesn't really feel cool anymore. Blade's sort of cringe for me.
Really?
When I watch Deadpool, Wolverine, and Blade's there, I'm like, I don't want to. Looks like Crystal Pepsi to me. It's like there was a time, but it's
time
over.
and a place.
I don't like it anymore. I don't want it. Hot take. But where were we? Oh yeah, winning. Yeah, winning. Oh, I was gonna say. So you could have a Steve Jobs character who goes to Xerox, sees the desktop thing, sees a mouse idea, steals it, but it doesn't. Uses it. Doesn't, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. We're so quick to be like, fucking loser. Like we'll kill them so fast.
Yeah, as an audience
Yes.
in the United States,
Yes.
and this has been proven,
Yes.
we will take a psychopathic winner over the most lovable loser.
So true.
And there are, it's like...
Scoreboard. It's just scoreboard.
Yeah, and not every person in like the audience, like, there's a... Homer Simpson is a popular character.
Yeah.
He's not good at anything. But...
Except if you look at the Frank Grimes episode, that was a revolutionary one because it's pointing out how Homer's bad at everything, and yet he has a house, a wife, 2 kids, 2 cars. So he did win.
Yes.
Like Chaplin's Tramp. You know, like he's winning even though he shouldn't be winning, and we love that as well.
Yes.
Not to say you're wrong, but I'm just like,
Yeah,
that's a fun conversation.
There are lovable loser characters,
right?
But they're much harder.
Yeah, it is harder.
It's just a harder thing to do. Like, like I often, as somebody who spends a lot of my time like talking to film executives, they would much rather you not try to do the hard thing of having a lovable, like flawed,
right,
like deficient protagonist.
Yeah,
they'd much rather you just be like, okay, it's the best kickboxer in the world,
right?
And anyway, they want that. It's just safer.
Well, I just did a show last night, and I was talking about that. I was like, when I watch Jason Bourne, I'm pretending to be Jason Bourne. And that's why it's compelling to me.
Yeah.
And I think if you really look at your unconscious or your subconscious or whatever, your slightly less than conscious mind, meaning it's not like in the recesses, but it's sort of, you have to look for it. You are going like, I can do that.
Yeah.
I know how to do that. I'm as fast as him. I'm as strong as him. And that's the pleasure.
Right.
I've said this a million times, but they give gorillas photographs of like silverback gorillas, like beautiful alpha gorillas, and they'll stare at them for hours. And that's why we want to watch. Tony Stark is just Sherlock Holmes. There's no end to the list. Jack Reacher. It's just like we just want know-it-alls that will die, but they'll be brought back to life.
Yes.
There's never any consequence.
Yes. And we also like, simplicity. So, it's like every witty thing that anybody said in the United States of America from the year like 1800 to 1930 is attributed now to Mark Twain. It's like there's like 1,000 funny people whose life's work.
So funny.
And it's just like, oh yeah, and in the UK it's Wilde. And they're just like,
really?
Yeah, and it's just like it's just easier to just be like, it's one guy.
I had Marianne Williamson on this podcast, and we talked about there's that famous quote: "Your fear isn't that you're inadequate. Your fear is that you're powerful beyond measure." It's this very beautiful thing.
Yeah,
it's like you're a child of God. You should shine. All this stuff.
Yeah,
and it's attributed very famously to Nelson Mandela, and she wrote it. It's in one of her books, but we don't. It's a very post-truth.
Yeah.
Just give us a winner. But going back to the Steve Jobs thing, and they cover this in Batman Begins, but like becoming a symbol, and we were also talking about dreams and Beau is Afraid, and how Carl Jung says like symbolism changes people and moves people and stirs people. So Steve Jobs and geniuses like him, it didn't matter if they were this way, as long as they had this other image that could be. So there is a Batman Bruce Wayne thing going on with a lot of our heroes.
Totally.
And we'll forgive it.
Yeah.
In fact, we'll kind of like it.
We'll love it.
Yeah, we'll love it.
Yeah.
Because they can pull it off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the simpler the better.
It's sad, though.
That's kind of fun.
I like that. It is kind of fun, but like, when you watch a good thing, though. Yeah. Sorry, what?
Oh, it's just like we've always been this way too. Like since like it's even like the way kings are described. It's like it's like John the Good, like John the Fat,
and
John the Cruel.
Yeah.
It's like one adjective. It's like that's like for
Crooked Hillary.
Sure, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Well, that's why he's doing it. It's like it's not just out of an urge to demonize and lie. It's also just marketing wise,
we're binary.
Simplicity.
Yeah.
We're so relieved to have like the extra value menu simplicity of like, okay, there's only.
Well, that's why the Democrats are going weird. Like that's a very. I think that's a good strategy.
It's a great word. It's one syllable.
Weird.
It's easy to remember.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's not too condescending.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just the right amount. I've said this before, but my father, I have a picture of my dad over there, my whole family. And my dad is the kind of guy that would be persuaded by weird.
It's a great
because
word.
There's a real American, like I asked him why he goes to church, and he's like, he basically was American Psycho because I want to fit in.
Sure.
It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You do this, you fit, don't be weird.
Yeah.
Don't be fucking weird. You mentioned Chris Elliott.
Get a Life. Yeah.
Get a Life.
Yeah.
I remember my dad turning that show off.
Oh my God. Yeah.
In disgust.
Yeah.
Because it's weird.
Yes.
So I was like, that's the brilliance of weird.
Yeah.
I'm also, look, we all think our own opinions are so great, but I tend to think in this election, I'm like, the story of Kamala is, in my opinion,
Yeah.
I'm saying my strength here is my uninformed sort of
Sure.
like knucklehead,
Yeah.
just in a bar eating peanuts. I'm like, just seems like a better story.
Yes.
Something you've already had versus something you haven't had. Something you haven't had.
It's also
very exciting.
It's a first season instead of a fifth season.
We're back to Inside Out too.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's people have already. Yeah, you can see the fatigue.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Well, you could see the first. There was the imp of the perverse pose thing. You're on a cliff. You want to push your friend off the
Sure.
cliff. You're not an evil person. There's just a part
But
of you
your
that's
part
like,
of you wants to. Yeah,
There was an imp of the perverse with Trump. It's like, what if we threw that in?
yeah,
And now I think it's like we've done that.
right.
And then images of January 6th flash in your. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever your image is.
Whatever your political opinions are, it's just hard to love anything for that many years in a row.
That's right.
You know,
You're right.
It's just hard.
8 years is a long
and
time.
so there's people who right, and 4 years where it was on a lot.
Yeah.
It was on the TV a lot.
That's true.
So it was like
Had
4
I-
seasons where you were like watching it like in prime time.
lot.
And
A lot.
then a bunch of other years too where it was kind of like on cable and you'd see it sometimes at the gym.
Deeper down.
Yeah, and now it's like
It was the Arrested Development Netflix
right,
version.
exactly. And now it's like, do you want another 4 primetime seasons? Do you want
Yeah.
a 4-season order?
Yeah.
And I think some people, even if they agree
Yeah.
with what
There's fatigue.
they're tired.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just because we're almost out of time here. Oh man, we have The Meaning of Life and we have Pixar. I'm going to go with Pixar. Would you tell me a little bit about your? And we
Yeah,
do
yeah.
Meaning of Life too.
Sure.
But I'm very curious what it was like working on. I've seen Inside Out 100,000 times. I also have a daughter.
Sweet.
I saw Inside Out 2. I'm fascinated with it. Do you want to know one? I'm very proud of this.
Yeah.
One gaffe in that movie.
Oh, what?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
I guarantee you've never heard this before.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
She tries to cheer herself, Riley cheers herself up by thinking about the memory of when the dad is taking the picture in front of the dinosaur monument. Car loses the brake
Yeah.
and the back windshield breaks
Yeah.
with the poke of the dinosaur tail. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, then later they're going down. It's like one shot. You can see the car windshield's not broken. Back
Wow,
windshield's
continuity
not broken.
error.
Continuity error. I've never gotten to come up with one.
Whoa.
I haven't seen it anywhere.
Wow.
And because it's Pixar,
yeah.
look, a DreamWorks continuity error.
Sure, yeah.
I'm just kidding. But like, I was like thrilled because I've watched it so many times.
Yeah.
Past the point of pleasure, you start looking for
Fascinating.
anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. But that was probably that's like an
was
Easter egg. They're trying to. There's some windshield character and some other. No, I'm just making it up.
I thought you were going to say that was probably a punch-up pass. that
Wouldn't it
that it
be
was
funny?
written out of order, and they were like, and then in Japan because they don't have emergency brakes, it's a different gag. Like that's another Inside Out thing. I'm sure you know. In Japan, children like broccoli.
Yes.
So you know this?
Yes, they
you
had
must.
they had to flip. Yeah,
They flipped it.
Yeah.
Riley's, it's asparagus, I think.
something like that.
They changed it. So they reanimate the scene for different cultures.
Yes,
Fascinating.
it's incredible. Yeah, when I was there, I think the technology has improved, but there was a certain point at which it was too late in the process to change much,
Oh, interesting.
which was much earlier than you would think.
Really?
Yeah.
It's locked.
Where it's basically locked, and you're like, wait, it doesn't come out for like 2 years. You're like,
Sorry.
no, it's done.
So it's rendering.
It's
There's a hard
rendering.
drive
Yeah.
churning
Seriously.
right now.
Yeah.
You can't touch it.
Yeah.
When did you get brought in that process?
I went straight in the Inside Out process.
I suppose.
Yeah, I was there.
Because we're just almost out of time.
Yeah, I got there about a year into like the development of the movie, and I was there. I was on it for like a year and a half.
Was that one of the 5 that came up at the famous dinner?
No, that
Okay.
was an idea Pete had.
Pete Doctor.
Pete Doctor, my boss there, and I think he would have had that idea. It was a relatively recent idea. I think it was like probably 09 or 10 is when he came up with it or something. And then I was there by like mid 11. So he had already been working on it for.
What was the status of it when you got there? Was ennui there? Because I heard there were stories that there were other emotions.
There was. it was still unclear who the main character was going to be.
Really?
It was the story was very much in flux, and it continued to be that way after I left. You know, it's a very like iterative process. You do a lot of different versions of the movie just to see what is stronger. There were
Oh, you
good.
do?
Oh
like
yeah,
Who Shot Mr. Burns stuff?
for sure. Yeah, there were good versions of Inside Out that were not the movie, and were not as good as what they ended up with. You know?
What?
Yeah, it's like
Were
sometimes
there
they'll be
versions
like,
where someone else? Go ahead.
oh, sometimes they'll be like, this is pretty good, and it's like, let's try it this other way, and then sometimes they'll try it that other way, and they'll be like, it was better before. Let's go back to the
Shot.
I mean, it's insane.
These are animatics, like rough animation.
Yeah. You get to a combination of usually during the screenings, or like at least the part that I was when I was a writer on the project, it was like year 2 to year 3-ish, and our screenings would be a mix of animatics and sometimes even just storyboards all with Scratch VO.
The animators.
No, not the animators.
Oh.
Well, yeah, because
I wasn't even joking. I thought it was
Oh.
just some guy being like,
yeah,
I'm mad.
no, they would have basically whoever on staff was a decent actor.
Wow.
Would be repurposed
Wow.
as a Scratch. They
Sometimes the scratch gets the part.
would occasionally.
Ben Schwartz, Sonic the Hedgehog.
It occasionally would happen, and it was interesting. But like Pete Docter's longtime assistant, who I think ended up doing the voice of Wally's love interest in Wally. That's
Eva?
I think it's
It's Eve, but
Eve,
I call
yeah.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think she did it in the real movie.
Oh, no way.
But so that's like an example of like a Scratch. I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
And then, but she voiced Joy
Oh, cool.
for years and years. So
Wow.
Imagine like it was a big part of her day-to-day job. Is like for at least an hour a day. At times having to go in and record every new version of every new scene, and there's thousands of hours probably of her playing that part.
I'm sure it got old. That's the showbiz in me. I'm sure it was very fun. And then at some point she was like, oh, God.
And then
It's a grind.
Pete Docter and maybe it was Stanton, but definitely Pete. They did Scratch for Buzz and Woody for all of the Toy Story movies.
Wow.
And so, or at least through Toy Story 3. I don't know if they did for 4 because I was gone by then. But it's like,
Did you
they
work
were-
on Toy Story as well?
no.
Oh, okay.
But they were very high-level Pixar employees.
Doing it.
And they were like, I got to take a break from like directing my movie and running the company because I need to go read these scenes
Wow.
to help the iterative process. So it's
cool.
It's such an interesting thing.
I'd love to have a conversation. This has come up on the show before about the rules of when a toy has to paralyze itself.
Yeah.
Is it a choice? Do you have a take?
I think it's a choice.
What about Buzz? He does it. He doesn't know he's a toy, and yet he collapses when a kid
Interesting.
comes in.
I think he has like his own narrative for why he's doing it. I still think
interesting.
I still think it's like I still think he has agency,
Okay.
but he's like,
he's like Zurg.
he's like I need to there's a
agent of
threat there's
Zurg.
a threat and I need to
Freeze.
yeah. So he has his own like story that he's
I
telling
like that.
himself.
See, this is why you work at Pixar. Mine is when you are first animated.
Yeah.
You have a reflex, an involuntary reflex that if a human being comes in, you have to collapse. But through practice, you get control over it.
I see.
And that's why Woody can do it at will, and then later Buzz can do it at will.
That makes sense.
And you have to bring into effect the Christmas special, the dinosaur ones, because they also that's a whole village of people that don't know their toys.
Yes.
That one's deeply moving.
Totally.
I found it very,
Yeah.
very profound.
Yeah.
Because he has a moment of enlightenment where
Yeah.
he realizes what he is.
Yeah.
And that his creator, the boy, is like God.
Yeah.
And he's like there to play the child's game.
Right.
For its own pleasure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's really cool.
So I guess that brings us, we have 9 hot minutes for the
Okay.
meaning of life.
Okay.
I saw, sorry, it's just on your Wikipedia page. I'm apologizing for the
It's fine.
the brevity or the whatever shallowness of my research.
Yeah.
It said that you were an atheist, but you were like, that's too certain.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel today?
Yeah. It says I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
I'm not an atheist.
No.
Corrected Wikipedia.
I will, yeah. Somebody do
Somebody
it and
correct-
footnote this.
I
We get a lot of listens from the footnotes.
I'm like very, very absolute agnostic.
Okay.
Like
Can't know.
down the middle agnostic.
The human mind
Yeah.
is incapable.
Yeah.
I've heard the analogy that it's like a light bulb and you put too much light in it and it just shatters. So
Yeah,
it's just too much.
impossible. Yeah.
So
And I don't even spend any time entertaining either possibility of
You're just-
atheism or faith. I'm just like, how would I know?
eating sandwiches.
I don't even watch the news. How am I going to know?
You could go to church once.
One time, yeah.
Right towards the end.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go on the last day. And a lot of people do that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Speaking of Shakespeare, I think it's in Hamlet. He's going to kill somebody, but he's like, I got to wait for him to, I'll kill him after church so his soul is clean.
Oh, wow.
Very like,
Well,
very
Hamlet's
considerate
always looking
murderer.
for an excuse to procrastinate.
It's true. But imagine being like, I'm going to kill you, but I
Yeah.
don't want you to go to hell.
Yeah, that's just an act.
Dead over? Do you think it's over?
Same deal.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
There's a line in Lord of the Rings that I've been thinking about a lot lately where Gandalf says to Frodo, he's like, you know, who are you? Can you create life? So don't go around doling out death so
Yeah.
willy-nilly. Like
Yeah.
you're not in charge. Why would you?
Yeah.
So I do think there's something funny about like, really funny. Not like I'm being smarmy and I'm brilliant. I'm just saying it's funny that we don't know what's going on here.
Sure.
So any certainty is kind of hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
To be like, when you're dead, it's light.
Well, that's
lights out.
my favorite characters are confident, dumb people.
Completely
Because
agree.
I see the human condition like in them so
trying to think of
starkly.
one.
Well, like whenever, it's like Carell and The Office. Or,
That's exactly what I was trying to think
that's
of.
what you want. You want like those are my favorite characters.
And watching them spin out
Yeah.
and realize that they
They
can't.
maybe don't know as much as they thought they did.
Yes.
And they're sort of dawning on them gradually over the course of the episode that maybe,
Right.
just maybe they weren't an expert at the thing they thought they were expert at.
The great Michael Scott line for me is, you cheated on me after I specifically asked you not
Yeah.
to. I'm like, that's it. Marriage
Yeah.
and relationship and like, don't cheat on me.
Yeah.
Like that's the unspoken marriage is don't cheat on
Yeah.
me. All the candles and the glass and the
Yeah.
people. It's like, don't cheat on me.
Yeah.
And then you did, but I specifically, there's an honesty to that
Yeah.
type of stupidity that we're all that stupid.
Of course.
My wife cheated on me, and then you're like, yeah, she was just a person. She was, you know what I mean? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
want to believe that we had been metamorphosized into unicorns.
Sure.
And now we live in the eternal forest.
Yeah.
And you don't.
Yeah.
And
We don't
there's
know anything.
You don't know anything.
We don't know what's going to happen next.
Ever.
Yeah.
Wild.
We're always checking to see like, okay, I think I have a handle on it.
Which
but-
is wake me up before you go
Yeah,
in,
right.
in the supermarket.
yeah, but we never really do.
No. And then Val and I were just, my wife and I were just talking about this. It's like when you're in the flow, you can engage with reality, the ever-changing prism of it, like you're skiing. Mm-hmm. And that's why we say things like you're in the flow. It's like
Sure.
you're in that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And then there's times when you feel like you're in the dryer.
Right.
You're not in the flow, you're being tumbled by it.
Yeah.
And we're all just trying to,
Yeah, to do whatever we can to preserve the illusion of agency, like
Yes.
Buzz and Toy Story.
exactly like Buzz in Toy Story.
Just like
And-
it's like in did you read The Little Prince?
Of course.
Yeah, so the great character in that for me is the guy who's like thinks he's the emperor of the universe.
Yes.
And he's like, I command the stars to shine and I command and as long as he says
Things
that
that
are
are
already
already
going to happen,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
can continue his
Yeah.
self-delusion of
Yes.
that's my favorite.
Yeah. I liked the movie version of it.
I
Did
don't
you
think
see
I've
it?
seen that actually.
It's a Netflix movie.
Oh, cool.
And
I have Netflix.
they did, yeah, Netflix.com.
Yeah.
I can give
have
you
that.
my password. They don't care. I think they're doing okay.
I think they're doing all right.
Here's my last selfish question.
Yeah.
You're, as a screenwriter, are you getting any feeling that where we're going,
As an industry?
as an industry, but also as an enjoyer, obviously I'd like to work
Yeah.
and write and
Yeah,
act,
yeah.
but also I like movies. Do you think,
Yeah.
I feel like a guy with talkies. I feel like like a numbskull, and I'm afraid I'm going to look like an idiot in 5 years for saying this. But I'm like, I want movies. I don't want AI things.
Yeah.
I will never tire of watching people respond authentically.
I think art forms persist if they can offer something that no other art form can. So like something like, or mediums, I should say. So like there are no more CDs.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because your experience of listening to an MP3 is not different.
Yeah.
Unless you're like you fetishize plastic or something crazy.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I need that circle. I need it.
Yeah.
Unless you have like some very specific sexual perversion. You're just like MP3, CD, cassette.
To most people,
whatever.
Totally fine.
Yeah. But there is something I think specific about narrative audio visual entertainment made by human beings.
Yeah.
Just like there is something specific about like stand-up comedy or theater or plays or
I
ballet
would argue
or it's
with
like
stand-up.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it's just like it is a specific thing.
I think the fact that it's mined from a human being is the thing.
Exactly.
Like I heard some AI generated stand-up, and I was sort of just like, who cares?
Yeah, because it's not communication with a human artist.
Any human saying any authentic inner experience.
Yes.
It almost doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
Part of the titillation is it's like either I agree or I don't agree, and look at that guy or that person feeling that way.
Yeah.
We're doing it like a mirror, and I think, it's like reducing lovemaking to blood and semen going to a penis.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of like, that is it. But really, when I'm watching Bill Burr lose his mind, I can't believe that there's a human like him.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way that he reminds me of myself or doesn't.
Totally.
It's so fun.
Yeah, so if art is the connection between a human artist and the audience, and it's about communication, then it'll never go away.
Yeah.
But we both know that in this town, Hollywood, there are things that are released where the audience maybe isn't even aware of the writer's name, for example.
Yeah, sure.
or even that there is a writer of the of the
So
film.
you're saying there might be another kind of thing. When I was growing up in Boston, there was a comic strip, Ninja Turtles, and it didn't have a byline.
Yeah.
All of them said Calvin and Hobbes by Bill Watterson.
Yeah.
This one just said Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And you still liked it.
We still liked it,
Yeah.
And I'm like, is there a potential that like you could load? Obviously there is.
If I were a company that like cared about like profit, I would definitely be looking for AI to write that Ninja Turtle one.
Yeah.
But I would have hopefully the sophistication to know like,
and
people know that they like knowing that Gary Larson wrote The Far Side.
Yeah.
And if we were to take his name off of it and replace it with the AI version, the fans would hate it. So so I think like there will be both. There will be.
You gave me the image of a farmer's market.
Exactly.
It's like there's going to be Costco, Monsanto tomatoes.
Yes.
And then there's going to be people that are like, I want to know.
Yeah.
Oh, George Clooney directed this as well. And I think people like that maybe even more than they realize.
Absolutely. And totally. So there will be the equivalent of the farmer's market. But I do think it maybe will be in just certain cities and it'll be a smaller.
Oh, you think it's going to shrink?
A little bit. I don't think it'll go down to, I think it'll be like, honestly, I think it'll be like the size of Broadway, which is to say like a real business that employs a lot of people and there's some people who do very well, but it's just kind of going to be a smaller footprint. That's my prediction, but I don't think it will ever go away because it does something special and unique.
That it can only do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take it. I think that's on. It's like you're a politician. So that's his take. He's running for the president of the WGA. It's 12:30 on the nose. Simon, say keep it crispy and get out of here.
Keep it crispy.
You were a delight. The
Thank
book
you.
is Glory Days, read by John Mulaney, but there's a lot of other wonderful works. Check everything, Simon. We'll plug it up top.
I appreciate it.
You were awesome, man.
Thank you.
It was a day off for me. Thank you.
Oh, good. Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have some modern mammals. There you go. Wash your hair with that.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Drink your magic wine.
I'm going to take it. I appreciate the... Should I do it?
You made it weird. You made it weird. You made it weird. Oh, yeah. You made it weird. You made it weird.